Well, hello there, everyone. It is Sunday, August the 21st, year 2022. Hopefully, you're doing outstanding. Let me get this behind me. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. Nothing like that. I'm just Maskey. I go by Maskey or Maskey Finance. And hopefully, all of you are doing outstanding. Anyway, I'm going to talk about it's a trait. Seems like I think studies have shown, and my experience of being the age I am, I think some kids are almost born with this trait. Maybe they're not born, maybe they get it from their parents when they're young. It's that nature versus nurture thing. But it can be called different things. Self-discipline, that's a big one. Self-determination, self-drive, grit, but self-discipline. And I've read various studies that have shown parents do influence their kids in a variety of ways. Sometimes the parents influence them because they're failing in life, and yet they have self-discipline in a very different way. They don't act on it the way successful people do. But a lot of times they do have self-discipline, and they have grit and drive. Other times kids are born and the parents are driven, but the kids don't have that trait. Why is that? Nature versus nurture. Okay? But it is a trait, I believe, that can be learned. So if you're an investor, especially if you're an investor in real estate or in stocks or in anything, you need that self-discipline. You need that grit. You need that drive. You need that, when you get knocked down, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need that in you. So if you don't have it, if you recognize yourself, and odds are, if you don't have it, you're not going to recognize it in yourself, because it's hard sometimes for us as humans to find our own weaknesses and to identify them. Sure, sometimes they're obvious, but not always. But if you have trouble, I don't know, starting investing, if you struggle when something bad happens with investing, if you struggle if you work in customer service and a customer yells at you, do you yell back and then get fired from your job? That sort of thing. It's self-discipline. You have to learn to control yourself. Okay? Everyone can struggle with that. I struggle with that at times. But in regards to investing, I'm pretty successful with it. Not perfect. None of us are perfect. But to be a successful investor, you need self-discipline, you need drive, you need grit. Because I learned it as a stock investor. I learned it early on. Stocks are volatile. They go up, they go down. Markets will crash occasionally. There will be recessions, etc., etc., etc. Same thing in real estate. If you're of the belief that real estate will never drop in value, well, look at the Great Recession of 2007, 8, 9, 10, that general time period. A lot of housing prices all over pulled back. Where I was at in the Shenandoah Valley, it didn't have, my hair's messed up today like usual, it didn't have the major drop off that it did in other places in the country, but still, even there, small town America, prices pulled back. Okay? There were foreclosures in that area too, just like there were foreclosures all around the country. Okay? So anyway, if you are investing in real estate, and I've said this before, you are going to hit roadblocks at times. Everything may be rosy for a period of time. It may be great. You're getting all your rent checks in, there's minimal problems, everything's gone well. But then something happens. It could start off very slowly. It could just be a single tenant did not pay rent this month. But maybe by next month there's 2 tenants. And the next month there's 3 tenants. And then you're told that your tenant has to be evicted. Or maybe 2 tenants have to be evicted. Or maybe 3 tenants have to be evicted. And maybe you're in a state where it takes 6 months to evict. Or maybe it's a state that takes 2 months to evict. You've already gone a month or 2 without rent, and now it takes 2 more months. And then what if they don't leave the premises? What's the process then? Does it take another month or 2 or 3? When I evicted in Alabama, it took a while. It was, I believe, it was about 7 months. And Alabama, I thought, was supposed to be a landlord-friendly state, but to me it was not. It took a while, which meanwhile, I was not getting my rent for all that entire time. It was crazy. All right, and that happens. So it will try you, especially if you're a beginning real estate investor and you're early in your career. It is going to try you. It will test you. You will figure out if you have that drive and determination and self-discipline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, once it happens. Because it's so easy to give it up. It's so easy to say, I'm going to sell these houses. It's so easy. Just like it is with anything. If you have children, I've talked to parents for decades. I've talked to kids for decades. And there are so many parents, even in this area where I'm at, which is a big area, that have said, there's nothing for my kids to do around here. In the little area I was living in, there's nothing to do around here. In that little area I lived in, my population of the city I lived in was like 23,000 people. The adjoining city 10 miles away was like 21,000 people. The entire county might have been, 80,000 people. And the county was the largest county in Virginia, geographically. So it was small town America. It wasn't as small as some place in the Midwest, but it was small. Where I'm at now, I think the metropolitan area is over 1 million people. It's much larger. And yet there's still parents here that tell me there's nothing for their kids to do. In small town America, I'll run down a couple things my kids did. Because by your kids doing certain things, if they didn't have this trait, if it wasn't nature that provided this trait, this will help nurture that ability in them to have self-discipline, drive, grit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Things we did with my two boys from a very young age. We got them involved in sports. The youngest one was the oldest one was 4 years old when he got involved in soccer. Prior to that, when he was 3 years old, he got involved in karate, Shotokan karate. Following that, he was involved in t-ball, a variety of t-ball. Coinciding with t-ball, he got involved with music. It was called kinder music back then. I think now it might be called music garden. Because I had read studies, even back then, that showed kids who studied music had better mathematical abilities as a whole. The music, learning how to read music, play music, however they play, they had better mathematical abilities. I did a college paper on that one time in a child psychology class. So, and there's different studies that have shown that. So, t-ball, kinder music kept advancing up. When kinder music finished, piano classes started. We didn't have a lot of money. We got a used piano for like $400, and then pay whatever the piano lessons cost. It didn't cost a lot of money. Nowadays, people get keyboards. You can probably get one for less than $400. Then he got involved in baseball. Beyond t-ball was baseball. The little leagues going on up for a while. The youngest one got involved in same thing, music, t-ball, and then both boys also at a young age, coinciding with all that, started taking swim lessons. They would take it at a local YMCA. They learned how to swim. They advanced all the way through all the levels at the YMCA. By the time they advanced all the way through, several years had passed by, they were on the summer swim team that was in the area, and they swam on that. They progressed through the Y. They swam a year-round swim team for 1 year, but it was too much. So they finished that after 1 year. They didn't quit in the middle, finished it after 1 year. And then eventually they worked as part-time or assistant coaches on the summer swim team, so they made a little money because they were good swimmers. By the time they were, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. Meanwhile, my oldest son started wrestling, I think, in middle school, and was a good wrestler for his weight class. Like, he was really good, had a lot of potential. The football coach started recruiting him then because he was showing that potential. He was strong, he could run. But by running, he discovered, and we talked about this, his running was a great strength. And we talked about it. It's like for football and wrestling, how many football players and wrestlers do it as a lifetime sport? Very few, especially wrestling. You get a small percentage going to college and wrestle, and a very small percentage wrestle in the Olympics, but you don't typically have people 50 years old out there wrestling, not typically. Same with football. A lot of guys in particular love football. They'll play football in their backyard, throwing football. But how many go on to play football? But by playing football, they do develop these characteristics as well. But my son discovered running. He was good at it. As I explained to him one time, you see people 90 years old who run. It's a lifetime sport. So that running ability was good, and it carried him far. Same with my youngest son. It carried him even farther probably. And then both of them academically, I told the teachers early on at parent-teacher conferences, first grade probably, challenge these kids, challenge them. One teacher along the way told me, I have to teach to the class. I can't do it. And I said, can you send work home? Or can you tell me how I can challenge him above and beyond what you're teaching him? And the teacher did. I forget exactly how it transpired, but the teacher did challenge him. And another teacher, gifted and talented teacher, started pulling him out of the classroom because we kept him challenged. We had the boys read. I read to them at a young age. Okay, so they developed that reading skill. The music helped them develop math skills. Both boys were great in math, science, reading, athletics. They also got involved in the theater, small town community theater. All right, all of this was done in a small area. Both boys went on to attend the United States Coast Guard Academy, and they're now officers in the Coast Guard doing very well. So when I have a parent in this area say there's nothing for my kids to do, baloney. There's a ton for them to do. You got to challenge your children, because by challenging them and getting them involved in sports and music and theater and whatever you might get your kid involved in, it will help to develop those traits that are needed to be a successful investor. All right, because to be a successful investor, you gotta have self-discipline. You gotta have grit. Just have to, because you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get run over. You'll get stomped on. You'll get spit on. You'll get stepped on. You'll get punched, etc., etc., etc. You gotta get back up and keep going. You gotta keep plugging away. So many people in life, just to generalize, so many people in life roll over and quit. They give up. They give up. They're struggling to pay their rent. They give up. They get evicted because they give up. They're struggling at their job. They give up. If they don't quit first, they get fired. All right? Every person needs to have that self-discipline. It's easier taught to some than it is to others because we don't know how any adult was raised. But if you're a parent, you can help instill that into your child. Since I'm on this topic with children, if you become a successful investor, do not spoil your children. Do not spoil them. It'll come back to bite you if you do. Give them what they need: clothing, housing, food, basic necessities. Don't go above and beyond buying every single thing available. If they're young, why are you giving them a cell phone in their crib? Sure, they're going to learn technology, get a computer in the house, but kids don't need cell phones at a young age, but they're all getting them. We're getting addicted to our cell phones from a very young age. It doesn't necessarily look good for the future if this addiction continues to grow. All right, so anyway, if you don't have these characteristics, develop them. Let me challenge you to get those characteristics. All right, because it will help you in all aspects of life, not just investing, in all aspects of life. You can't give up. All right, good enough. Have a great day. Mazskes signing out.